As someone who's been an avid supporter of the spider side being the most enjoyable part of Soma Spider So What, I was actually really happy to see focus back on the human side after an amazing episode last week. The whole monkey business was incredible, and 75% of this episode was dedicated to our spider girl continuing to trying to survive the middle floor there, but then having to retreat, but then going back and having some delicious catfish. But I have to say, the human side in this episode was really engaging. And you're really starting to see the gears start to turn more and more. And I really like the balance specifically in this episode because if they honestly keep it like that, I think that'd be honestly preferable. Because if you have, say, a good chunk of the intro be dedicated to the spider, get some information, some fun moments, some action moments on the human side, finish up with the spider, I think that would be the formula to go with. Obviously, I expect they'll continue to play up with perspective, who we start with, who we end with. But in terms of episode 5, I might go as far to say this is my personal favorite episode in terms of a balance. Last week, it was just pure amazing spider content, but this episode, it honestly struck the perfect balance for the two perspectives, and really started to bring up questions and ideas that I haven't seen explored in an isekai before, especially with the religion in this world. The whole idea that you have like an intelligent voice inside your head that gives you like appraisals or says, do you want to level up this? When you're isekai'd into a world, as you can see with our main character, you don't question it, that's just a video game mechanic, it's an AI voice, you don't question it. But then you have some characters like Yuri, who did reincarnate, but was born as a baby, was raised by a church, and has basically been influenced by this religion to the point that she firmly believes that it's the voice of God, that when you level up, the voice of God talks with you, and things like taboo abilities. Make sure you tell me about them because I have to kill them. Why would God want you to have taboo abilities? That's probably the devil's work, right? This is something I honestly can't remember seeing. And I think, honestly, the religion angle, I initially brushed it aside as just a crazy religious girl because I didn't really put too much focus on it because at that point the show was still getting going, trying to introduce you to so many characters. But an episode like this that really throws it in our prince's face here saying, hey, are you going to join my religion? You know, the hero you look up to, the devoted follower, which we get a little bit at the end of the episode after the credits there, where he's going up to the middle floor where our girl is, or at least currently is, so to speak. And I love the idea that she is just so influenced by this like voice of God and that if you level up, you'll be blessed by God's blessing. It is insane, and then to see our little dragon here just cowering in fear because she feels like she's taboo because of like kin eating and things like that, which still I think is amazing that, you know, the difference of waking up as a spider eating your kin versus being raised as a pretty noble pet and then you have to eat your mommy or daddy after it tries to kill your family and friends. It's a really different mental experience, and I like the idea that even in this episode, you know, they're talking about how like if only there was another monster with human intelligence, that would change everything. You're really building up to them eventually meeting, most likely when our spider's a big badass spider and she's a big badass dragon. Whether that's going to be conflict or it's going to be nice, who knows. But I really like the human side in this episode. It was a lot more engaging, and it's really interesting seeing the difference of leveling up because in perspective of, say, the spider side, she started off as the size of like a small dog or a pretty large dog. But it's hard to put into perspective just how large she is because everything in this cave is like giant for the most part. Even the monkeys are pretty damn large. But when you have a dragon leveling up next to humans, it's very easy to see the perspectives and the growth, and it's really interesting, I have to say. In terms of the actual spider content, I thought it was great. I mean, immediately it's like, okay, you know, I'm going to try my best. It's fiery death galore, but I'm going to do my best. And she's had to get out of there. She's had to work her way up and just try to survive back on the lower floor. And, you know, the simple moments like leveling up once again, just evolving, getting this new evolution. And generally when we've seen it, it's just like an extra stripe or an extra color. This time she actually has quite a visual difference. And I like the idea of her slowly changing, but it's not too drastic. It's not like a Pokemon evolution where they're a completely new form. Sure, there's similarities, but it's a drastic jump. Here, it's one of those things that we're slowly seeing the evolution happen, so it makes it a pretty easy transition, all things considered. And the idea that she once again gets forced back up into the hell-forsaken landscape of Magma Doom. It's just so fun to see how they continue to find new ways to make a character talking to herself. That's all she interacts with. She talks to herself. The only thing that you could argue she talks with is the AI voice in her head, or the voice of God, so to speak. And even then, it's a robotic, emotionless voice because that's what it's just a game menu, all things considered. She has to hold the scenes together by herself, and she continues to do so. The way she brings up comedy, the way she brings up references, There are so many cute things, and the idea of fighting a seahorse who is just shooting magma balls at you, I think is really interesting, and the idea that once you run out of your magic, you come on land, but it's a slow as shit movement, so you eat it, tastes like shit. And it's one of those things that, like, it's the little details that make spiders so great, because you would think, okay, you're reincarnated as a spider. It really sucks, especially considering you're seeing your classmates literally be royalty, if not pets of royalty. Some of it's probably gonna suck, but it's nothing compared to waking up and your mommy and daddy are trying to eat you in front of your other siblings, right? So to have a show where, like, not only do you have that, she just can't eat food that tastes good, until the catfish. And honestly, the catfish were probably my favorite visually designed monsters. They look so smooth and they blended in so well with the fiery magma lava volcano eruption that was kind of occurring around them. And the idea that a spider who literally is all about webs is getting burned alive more or less, has to try to use webs that are poisonous, doesn't really work, but since these catfish eat everything, throw a couple of poison balls in their mouth and then go to town. And the idea that she was actually so happy after in this episode being so disappointed by food, I think it's the littler details that really turn something into just such a memorable, wholesome, but kind of grotesque experience. On one hand, you're really happy to see her really enjoy food because it felt like, you know, she just hasn't been enjoying it. Sometimes she's like, this tastes pretty good, but you know, it's no hamburger, it's no steak, it's no real fish, right? But to see her actually so happy eating a catfish that big, goddamn, she might not have to eat for a couple of weeks by the looks of it. It's just those littler details, and I think it was just so fun, and I know it sounds like a broken record, but the structure of this episode was phenomenal to me. I really would love to see more like this, even if you start the episodes off with the human side, give a little bit on the human, focus a lot on the spider, a little on the human, a little bit on the spider. It's such a good balance, and it makes it a lot more engaging than having half an episode, you're balls to the walls, you're laughing, you're sweating, not knowing what's going to happen, and then you're back in a classroom for another half of an episode, right? It's not as engaging, but the way they structured it here is so good, and you're starting to see the pieces click more and more, and we're getting closer and closer and closer every week to having the two sides overlap, and eventually it's going to be amazing to see what it's going to look like, because from having a dragon leveling up, to having a spider leveling up, to having the human sides leveling up, to having adventurer parties go into locations that we're fearing. I was like, oh, is she still there yet? Has she moved on? You don't know, right? It's so great to see these sides overlap, and it's such a fun adventure. It really is defined by its fun factor, but it has the intensity, it has the humor, it has slice of life, all things considered, with the daily adventures of a spider trying to survive, or, you know, trying to keep your secret that you were reincarnated as you are royalty in this kind of like magical classroom. It's just so great to see all the sides click, and I'm really enjoying it. Honestly, this show just keeps getting better, and is definitely one of the shows I enjoy reviewing the most every single week. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. What did you think of the balance between the human and spider side this week? Did you like it as much as myself, or are you still preferring the spider or the human side over one or the other? Let me know whatever you're feeling down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, show your support, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't been around here. Since the next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.